Good morning, students. Today we are having our fourth lecture of chapter Force and Pressure. Okay. In our yesterday's video, we have just be studied about the non-contact forces, type of the friction forces. Okay, through an activities also. So I hope you are able to understand both the types of the forces, means the friction force, the rolling friction and the sliding friction. And as you all know that the friction is one of the type of the contact force. Okay, that we have already studied about that the contact force are there in the two form. One is your muscular and another one is the friction. Okay, now we had also discussed in our yesterday's video, in our yesterday's lecture, that giving an example of contact force is much more easier as compared to giving the example of non-contact force. Okay, so here yesterday we have started the topic non-contact force, and that we have studied about magnetic and gravitational force. Okay, so non-contact force in your syllabus are of three types. One is the magnetic, another one is the gravitational, and third one is the electrostatic. Okay, so magnetic force we have studied in our previous video, that the magnetic force is just be applied to a magnet, to a magnetic substance. Okay, and it always have an attraction force. Okay, and second we have just discussed about the gravitational force, that in gravitational force we are having some type of attraction force from the earth. Okay, which attracted all the object towards its surface of the earth surface. Okay, as we have given one example, that as whenever we open the tap, the water is always fallen to downside only, downwards only. Okay, so now again I am just starting from that non-contact force. First we have studied about magnetic force. A magnet can exert a force on another magnet without being in contact with it. You have even studied, or even you have just be experiment at your home, that whenever we have just be put in contact two magnets, okay, without being in a contact, they both are applying some force on each other. Okay, either they are attracting towards each other or they are repelling to each other. Now in which case they are attracting or in which case they are repelling, you have already studied about this thing in your previous standard, that when the similar poles, the like poles are come closer to each other, they always repel each other, and the unlike poles are always attract each other. Similarly, this is the north pole of the magnet, and this is also the north pole of the magnet. When the north pole of two magnets are come near to each other, they always repel each other. Even they are not be in a contact, you have just feel this force that they are repelling to each other. Now you have just kept the south pole. This is the south pole, and this is the the north pole. As the south pole is coming towards the north pole, they are attracting to each other, and this attraction force are felt by you, that some force are there between these two magnets, that they are just coming near to each other. Okay, that was the attraction force. Clear? So the force exerted by a magnet is an example of non-contact force, and this thing, how many times you have just be created or being performed at your home also through a magnet. Okay, now this is your one of the type of the non-contact force, that is the magnetic force. Second one is the gravitational force. Okay, the object or things fall towards the earth because it pulls them. This force is called the force of gravity, or we can say just gravity. This is an attractive force. Always remember, the gravitational force is an attractive force. whenever you throw a ball to the upper side, okay, so it will be always be fallen towards the earth only, okay, falling downwards only. Now you know it very well, when you have just be applied the force, exert the force on a ball and just flying in the sky, just be thrown in the sky, okay, on upward direction, you have to be apply some force, okay. As much force you are applying on a ball, that much particular height the ball reached, okay, in upward direction. As the force has been completed on that object, the object will automatically come towards the downward direction, and for coming towards downward direction we don't apply any of the fuel, means we don't apply any of the force, okay, it's come by their own. How is it possible? Means any kind of attraction force are there which applying on that ball, okay, so that attraction force is the gravitational force, okay. Means for keeping this pen to this height, we have to be hold this pen in our hand, okay. But if we have to be put in the downside, what we have to do? Just remove the force. It will automatically coming to downside only, not be going in upward direction, okay, like this, okay. So what was that? It was a attraction force, okay, and that attraction force is your force of gravity only. Clear? And it always be creates an attractive force only, okay. Now a note: gravity is not a property of the earth alone. In fact, every object in the universe, whether small or a large, exerts a force on every other object. This force is the gravitation force, okay. It was not a property of earth alone. Many of the forces are applying on the object, and it doesn't matter the size or the mass of the object is small or a large, it exerts the force on every other object, okay. Suppose we are just be throwing a rubber ball to downward direction from our terrace, okay, don't throw to any of the person, be remember. Now we are just be throwing a ball from our terrace to downward direction, and one of the stone you have taken in your hand, and that is also you are throwing to a downward direction from the similar height with the same force, okay. It doesn't matter the stone carries the maximum mass, so we have to be applied the maximum force. No, the same force you are apply, both attracts towards the downward direction only, okay. So it doesn't matter the size of the object is small or large, both are going towards the downward direction because through a gravitational force, because of the gravity which was applied from the earth, okay. So these two types of non-contact forces we have studied in our yesterday's video. Now in our yesterday's lecture, today the third type we have started, and that was your electrostatic force, okay. So electrostatic force, the force exerted by a charged body on another charged or uncharged body is known as electrostatic force. Remember, for the electrostatic force you have to be exert the force on a charged body, and that charged body will apply the force on another charge, either a charged or uncharged body, okay. And this force comes into play even both the bodies are not in a contact, means it is also a type of a non-contact force, okay. Just be consider this sentence: this force comes into play even when the bodies are not in a contact. Means electrostatic force is also one of the type of the non-contact force only, okay. Have you ever just be done this type of the activity at your home, that you have just blow an air inside a balloon, Okay, and after blowing a air inside the balloon, you are just be rub that balloon into your head, okay, and stick it on the wall, and that balloon has exactly stick on that wall. Okay, sometime in the school time also you are just done this activity that you have just be taken a scale, okay, a plastic scale, and you have rubbed in your hair, okay, and there are small pieces of a paper or garbage of a pencil is there, and that through that scale you have stick without make the contact between the scale and the paper. All the paper or the garbage of a pencil material has been sticked with the scale. What was that? That was the electrostatic force. Okay, which force is that? That was electrostatic force, which is one of the type of the non-contact force. For your better understanding, we will understand this electrostatic force through an activity. So let's start our today's activity.
Take two balloons and suspend one of them in the air by means of thread. Hold the other balloon by a thread tied to its end and bring it near the other balloon which is suspended. What do you notice? Do you see any force between them? Nothing in particular. Now rub the free balloon which is in your hand with a woolen cloth for some time. After that, bring it again near the suspended balloon. Do you see anything strange now? Yes, both the balloons seem to be coming towards each other. We can say that they are attracting each other. Why is this happening now? It's happening because of the force that acts between them. The force is attractive in nature. But this attractive force was not present initially before rubbing. Something must have happened to this balloon after we rubbed it with the woolen cloth. We can say that this balloon acquired something from the cloth after rubbing. And that something is what we call electrostatic charge. Let me repeat. When we rubbed the balloon with the woolen cloth, it acquired some charge. So this balloon is charged now, and this charge is responsible for the force of attraction between the two balloons. What about the suspended balloon? We call it the uncharged balloon since it has no charge. It doesn't have any charge as we haven't rubbed it with anything. Now rub the suspended balloon also with the woolen cloth. It will also be charged. So we have two charged balloons now. Bring them together. What did you see now? Both the balloons are moving away from each other now. That is, they are repelling each other. Again, they are repelling each other because of the force that is acting between them. But here, the force is repulsive in nature. What can we conclude from these two experiments? In the first case, there was a force of attraction between the charged and the uncharged body. And the second case, there was a force of repulsion between both the charged bodies. In fact, whenever we rubbed two bodies together, both of them acquire charge. Then this charge attracts or repels other charged or uncharged bodies when brought near them. The force exerted by a charged body on another charged or uncharged body is known as electrostatic force. The electrostatic force can be either attractive or repulsive in nature. We will study more about electrostatic charges in our other videos. Now I want you to answer a question for me. Is electrostatic force a non-contact force or not? Yes, it is a non-contact force. We saw that contact was not required for the balloons to move away or come towards each other. Here is one more experiment that you can perform at home. Rub your hair with the comb for some time and then bring this comb near small pieces of paper. What do you see? The small pieces of paper get attracted to the comb. Why are they attracted to this comb? Can you tell me the reason for this? When you rub your hair with the comb, it acquires some electrostatic charge. And this charge was responsible for the electrostatic force of attraction between the small pieces of paper and the comb.
I hope you are able to understand the concept of electrostatic force clearly through an activity. Okay, so your non-contact force, contact force, friction force, muscular, magnetic, gravitational, electrostatic, means all the types of the force has been completed with this video, with this lecture. Okay, within this lecture. Now we have just now pick up the next part of this chapter, that is the pressure. As the name indicates of this chapter, force and pressure, the force portion has been completed. Now today we have just give some introduction about the pressure. A pressure means the force acting on a unit area of a surface is called pressure. Force acting on a unit area of a surface is called pressure. Have you ever just be think about whenever you stick any kind of information, a notice or any kind of activity, sketches, chart on a notice board or in a activity or soft board, a soft pens are there which you are just be applied on a soft board like this with the help of a thumb. Okay, means a force applying on a surface perpendicularly, and this is the pressure exerting on the area of a surface. That was a force acting per unit area. Okay, so pressure is the force upon area. Remember this thing. Clear? So this is about the pressure. Okay, now pressure is exerted in solid substances, liquid and gases. In all the kinds of the states it will be applied. Okay, so for better understanding, just go through an activity, how the pressure exerts on the object.
When you hammer an iron nail, you apply force on the flat side of the nail. The pointed side of the nail, which is in contact with the wall, then applies the force on the wall and tries to pierce it. Now let me ask you an interesting question. What will happen if you hammer the pointed side and try to pierce the flat side of the nail? You will find it difficult to push the flat face of the nail through the wall even if you apply more force than you did in the first case. What is the reason for this? The reason is that the pressure applied by the tip of the nail on the wall is more than the pressure applied by the nail's flat surface. But the question is why? First, notice that the area of the tip of the nail is very less as compared to the area of its flat surface. This tells us that the area of the surface on which the force is applied matters. We will understand this in detail, but first let us define pressure. We define pressure as the perpendicular force acting on the surface of an object per unit area on which it's acting. It's easy. Force acting per unit area. We already know that the SI unit of force is Newton, denoted by N, and that of the area is meter squared. So the SI unit of pressure is Newton per meter squared. It is also called Pascal, which is denoted by PA. Why is it called Pascal? It is given this name to honor the achievements of a French scientist named Blaise Pascal for his contributions in hydrostatics and hydrodynamics. Observe the equation carefully. Area is in the denominator of the fraction. What is this area? Well, this area is nothing but the area on which force is applied. Say I keep the force constant and I keep increasing this area. What will happen to the pressure? Will the pressure increase or decrease? Use pure mathematical logic to answer this. If I have a fraction and I keep the term in the numerator constant and keep increasing the term in the denominator, then will the fraction increase or decrease? Surely it will decrease. So the pressure will decrease if I increase the area while keeping the force constant. With this newfound knowledge, let's go back to the example we saw earlier, the nail and the wall. Notice that we are also applying the force perpendicular to the surface of the wall. The angle between the nail and the wall is 90 degrees and not anything else. If you notice, the tip of the nail has a very small area compared to the flat surface of the nail, and hence the area of contact with the wall reduces to great extent in the first case. Hence, the pressure applied by the tip on the wall is greater than the pressure applied by the flat surface. That is why it is easy for the tip of the nail to penetrate through the wall. You can even use drill machines to drill the hole into the wall. You see that it has the pointed tip for the same reason. You can easily cut the vegetables using the cutting edge of the knife. But if you use the blunt edge of the knife, it will be difficult to penetrate it in. What is the reason in this case? Well, in the first sight, the two edges might look the same to us. But if you look at them carefully, the cutting edge has small triangle-like shapes with sharp outer points. The other edge has nothing of these. So if you cut a vegetable with a cutting edge, the area of contact between the vegetable and the knife is greatly reduced. Hence, more pressure is applied on the vegetables using cutting edge of the knife. Area used to cut the trees also have sharp cutting edges instead of placid ones. It increases the pressure on the tree due to the less area of contact. The examples that we've seen so far are applications of high pressure. It's about how high pressure is useful to us in some cases. But it is not always the case. There are situations where we require low pressure. Let us see some applications or advantages of low pressure. We use snowshoes to walk on snow. The reason for that is simple. Due to the larger area in contact with the snow, snowshoes reduces the pressure on the snow. We are able to walk on it without our feet sinking deep inside. In case of normal shoes, due to comparatively smaller area of contact, the pressure on snow is more and it sinks our feet deep inside. Note that the force applied on the snow in both the cases is the same. This force is nothing but our weight on the snow. Have you ever wondered why the wheels of an army tank run on the steel tracks rather on the ground? Notice that the wheels are on steel tracks and are not touching the ground. The army tank is huge in size. If the wheels run on ground, due to less contact area with the ground, the pressure on the ground will be massive. However, the tracks have much larger area of contact with the ground and hence the pressure on the ground is reduced to a great extent. In all the examples that we have seen in this video, it is the solid which is applying pressure on another solid. Do liquids also apply pressure? We will see that in the next video.
Now I hope you are able to understand about the pressure through this activity, because without giving the daily routine example, these terms are not be able to understand. Okay, so we have to be correlate even in a physics, the science for better understanding. We have to be correlate each and every term with our daily routine example, what we have done in our daily routine. Then you are easily able to understand each and every topic. Okay, now the note is, at this stage we consider only those forces which acts perpendicular to the surface on which the pressure is to be compound. Okay, means in your syllabus the force or with the area which are be considering is that the force which is act perpendicular on the surface, means 90 degree. Okay, that much is there in your syllabus right now in 8th standard. Okay, so this is about our today's lecture. Now let's move towards our today's homework also. Now this is our today's homework. What you have to do in the following situation, identify the agent exerting the force and the object on which it acts. State the effect of the force on each case. You have to be identify the following situation and which agent is exerting the force and the object on which the force acts. Okay, means the agent also you have to find and the object also on which the force is acting. Okay, and state the effect of the force on each case. You have to be state the effect also of the forces. First situation is squeezing a piece of lemon between the fingers to extract its juice. Second, taking out paste from toothpaste tube. Third, a load suspended from a spring while its other end is on a hook fixed to a wall. And last but not the least, an athlete making a high jump to clear the bar at a certain height. Okay, so these are the 4 situations which I have given to you, and you have to be solve this. The question which I am providing you is completely based on your NCERT back exercise question of your syllabus. Okay, so that questions only I am just be solving you out. Okay, so I hope you are completing your work, and please beta submit your work on the assignment submission portal. You are not submitting your work, so we are not be getting how many of the students are doing their work. Okay, so you have to be submit your homework also. Clear? I hope you are able to understand each and every topic. Thank you. That's all for today.